Romeo, this is paradise. You're allowed to date people. Why would you do it in secret?
She's an amazing flirt, by the way.
Oh,
just like
she's
seeing
such
her
a-
interactive.
Oh my God.
Whoa, she's good at flirting. Like the way that she... Hi, we're Julie and Kelly, and we're here to find love. Today we're doing a Bachelor in Paradise 2022 recap. This is season 8, week 2, which was actually 2 nights long, and we're going to cover everything that went down. Let's get into it.
Let's start off with night 1, which was Monday night's episode. We started off with Victoria Fuller showing up. If you are friends of this channel, you know that me and Julie, a bit of Victoria stans. She took Justin out on her date, which stirred up a lot of drama with Genevieve. Genevieve and Justin had been hitting it off for the first day or two, and then this date happened, and Genevieve just kind of had a full-on meltdown, which even she kind of acknowledges this. I saw she put out this tweet. It was very funny. She was like, not me, like acting like I've been dating Justin for years. But she seemed really upset that Justin had gone out on this date. Before he went on the date, he talked to her about it and was like, hey, I do want to go on this date. I do think we should, try seeing what connections are out there. And then, if we keep coming back to each other, we'll know that this is like our strongest connection. So he did say something along those lines. And she, I guess, agreed. I mean, she was pretty honest about being upset, but then by the time he got back, I think she had like spun up this whole narrative in her own head that like he was like abandoning her. He was gonna go get engaged to Victoria. She had kind of spun this whole narrative. So when Justin came back to kind of debrief with her, she was just kind of like ready to go off on him almost, like, and she did.
Yeah, she totally did. And it was a little bit... This is what happens when you just don't talk to the person that you're having the problem with and you talk to anyone but that person. It just really fanned her sensitivities, and she's already such a sensitive person. That intersecting with her birthday, so she felt like extra incensed, like extra offended, and just really upset that anyone would hurt her on a day that she admits she always cries on.
That was sad when she said that.
I know. When I saw that, I was like, oh, yikes. Like, Justin has no idea what he's walking into.
Right.
It just felt like a lose-lose situation, and it was just so interesting to me because the season had just started. They're just really getting to know these connections. It is still so new, and her insecurities coming out to this makes me believe whatever interaction, whatever connection she has on the beach, she's not going to be like an engaged couple at the end of it.
I know. I'm like, Genevieve, you're like one of the hottest girls there on the beach. Like, you don't need this insecurity. Like, I always have that reaction when like one of my faves is like having a meltdown. I'm like, girl, you're too good looking for this. You don't need you don't need to have to like scramble over. I mean, I love Justin. I think Justin is great. I actually think he handled the situation really well. He was very open and honest with her. But like, I just don't think that, it was worth. She had like built it up in her head that we're going to be a couple, even though it was only like 24 hours or 48 hours that had passed. And then the idea that he would go on a date or like want to see things with other people or figure out if there are other connections for him. I don't know if she took it personally, but she took it like catastrophically, as if that meant that he's no longer interested in her, which he was pretty clear that that's not what he was trying to do. Like, he was pretty clear, like, I like you, I want to keep seeing you. I just also want to go on this date that someone asked me on because we're very early in this process. So it didn't even seem like he was, like, questioning her at all. It was just kind of like Victoria asked him out, and he was like, okay, sure. So to me, it felt very, like, catastrophic thinking. Like, that was my main thing. With Genevieve, it feels like she will just something vaguely, disappointing will happen, and she'll like spin it into the worst case scenario, like in her own brain. And to your point, the problem is that like she was doing this kind of on her own while Justin was not there for the day. So it was kind of like she didn't have Justin to like help her recalibrate and get back to normal, like get back to reality and actually check in with what he's actually thinking. She just kind of spun this narrative in her own head. It's easy to do that, but it's so important to just like really come back to the facts of like, Justin clearly checked in with me beforehand. We have only known each other for a little while. If he comes back and he's still interested, that will be great. If he comes back and he's not interested, it's fine. Like, I've talked to him for 24 hours. There's plenty of other guys here. It's going to be all right. Like, getting back to that reality is so important.
Completely, because it ended up not even being a conversation. Like, he was walking into a trap that she had spent the entire day erecting when he was gone. And just because I noticed that she did this quite a bit, where, like, she's not seeing his, like, the fact that it's not a decision that tortures him, but it's a decision that gives him some kind of anxiety. But because he's not spiraling like she is, she assumes that he's, you know, manipulative, or that he's like not thinking about her, or that he's not being super considerate. I really think that he was doing the best he could on a situation that's just weird. I mean, imagine dating all of the people that you're dating on the same, like, in the same area. Like, you live in a summer camp and you're just seeing these people go off on dates, and you're kind of getting these forced date cards that purposely throw your couple into a mix. Like, she kind of has to play the game a little bit, but she just wanted Justin to commit to her outright, and there's a reason why he didn't, especially because, like, the second night, Genevieve got asked out on a date by Aaron, and then she said yes, and she didn't really comfort Justin at all. She just was kind of like, I'm probably gonna think about you. It was very bizarre, and then just kind of like skipped off into the distance.
I think Justin said this, and I kind of agree. It's like a little hypocritical that she was so like mad at Justin for going on a date, and she did the exact same thing the next day. It was like she made such a big deal out of it, as if he, you know, had really betrayed her, and then she went and did the same thing. To me, it felt very much like a double standard that she was holding him to, and I would be annoyed too. Like, less because she's on the date and more just because she is like going back on her own word.
And I just believe that Genevieve forgot, or she just got so in her head about her emotions. She really forgot what it meant to be on Bachelor in Paradise. And as soon as she saw Aaron walk down, she kind of just like, oh, that's what it is. This is what it is.
Everything that she said to Justin prior to Aaron arriving, which was like, if he is confused even a little bit, I don't want any part of it. Like, if he is still trying to decide or figure things out, I'm done. She just really seemed to want him to be 100% in after like those 24 hours or, you know, 48 hours of knowing each other. Like, it seems like that was what she was expecting from him. And to me, that is really just, it's silly. You know, it's just, it's like a fantasy. I like this idea that someone will like just immediately know that they want to be in an exclusive relationship with you. Even in real life, that's not how dating works. Like, you know, you meet someone, you'll go on a couple dates, and then maybe you'll decide, okay, let's see each other exclusively. But it's definitely not like as fast as Genevieve was trying to make it out to be, or it was demanding from Justin. He was like, the truth is, like, I'm still thinking about it. Like, I still need to decide, like, who's the best fit for me. And she was like, you're deciding? You're thinking? Like, it's like, what? People are allowed to think. People are allowed to not know exactly what they want to do right away. And in fact, I think it's better to think things through rather than making a rash decision of definitely Genevieve or definitely not Genevieve. Better to slow down and think and just figure out what you want. And so I was honestly, for most of that conflict, I was like, I think Justin is kind of in the right here, and Genevieve is just kind of, she's kind of creating problems where there aren't problems.
Totally. I noticed that with a few dynamics on the beach that we'll definitely go into. It just really surprised me. It's like, dang, guys, I know that you're into each other, but it's like the first few days of paradise. Like, this story, this show has really just begun, and they're just getting so in their emotions and their head about it, and things are so heightened, and they're feeling all of these feelings of insecurity.
Well, speaking of similar dynamics, we actually got kind of a similar storyline, I guess, going on with Romeo and Jill in night one. So basically, Romeo and Jill had kind of coupled off after the Kira drama cooled from last week. So those two had kind of coupled off, but then Romeo, in a very squirrely way, the two of them were kind of hanging out, like him and Jill, where Jill was like, let's go do something romantic. And he was like, yeah, I'll be right back. I'm going to go get a drink. And he like kind of sneaked off into the shadows and then pulled Brittany. And to the point that we've just discussed, like, it would have been fine for him to just be like, hey, I want to go. Like, I don't want to like immediately pair off and I want to like explore things. But instead he just like weirdly went and grabbed Brittany and like sat her down. And he was like, hey, Brittany, like, I kind of want to explore things with you, but like I don't really want Jill to know about it because I don't want to upset Jill. Like, are you down for that? And Brittany was like, what the fuck? Like, it was such a weird vibe. He tries to kiss her. She rejects him. And then he goes, she was like, you got to go talk to Jill before you do any of this. And so he was like, oh, okay. And he went and talked to Jill. Jill freaks out, breaks up with him, and it all kind of spirals from there.
I mean, it was interesting because of Romeo. I get that he's painted as this bad guy on the beach. He's got this scarlet letter. I just don't think he did anything super wrong. Maybe didn't communicate super well. Did it in front of people's faces, which was really disrespectful. But he is dating out loud. And him having the rose that week, I believe the power really got into his head. He is already like an attractive person, and being on the beach with so many attractive people, he just got totally in his body and his instincts, I believed. He just went over like, okay, this is a girl that I could be attracted to. Let me see if this could be anything. And it was a little bit difficult because, like, once again, him and Jill hadn't known each other that long. They're still getting to know each other. They are kissing. The whole Kira situation happened. There is a lot of like romances he has up in the air, but I just don't think that he liked them enough to really commit to them so early on. So I don't think the way that he moved necessarily was like as toxic as people made it out to be. He wasn't amazing at dating, but he doesn't deserve that kind of like malicious label on him. I really believe that he was just like thinking in the moment. This is a very instinctive person doing what he wants in the moment. Then he looks back and he sees a mess he's created. And it brings him to tears because he realized like, oh my God, like I have this reputation. I'm supposed to be boating on this beach, and now it's been totally sunk. To see him cry was like, oh, I felt bad. In the way that Jill was fighting with him, like, yikes, that was so not good. I just don't think that like he deserved half of the vitriol that she really directed towards him. But that's a very like hot take. I know that a lot of people were just like over the whole Romeo situation.
I agree that Jill was coming in a lot hotter than she needed to. Like it just didn't seem necessary, honestly. I think that she was right to be upset with him. I guess there was like an unspoken and unclear expectation that Jill had that they were already paired off. And clearly Romeo was not on the same page. To me, the thing that was squirrely about it was that Jill had directly been like, let's hang out. And he was like, you wait here. I'm going to go get a drink. Yeah. And really he was going to go like make out with Brittany. It was like, dude, just tell her that you don't want to pair off. It's okay. Like, it's not a problem that you want to date around. Like, it's just, you got to tell the people before you go and try to kiss Brittany. And then the way he said it to Brittany, which kind of implied that he wanted to do it secretly without Jill knowing, that was the thing that to me was like, it did feel a little bit like off. I think him just wanting to date, that in and of itself, totally fine. It's like, let's same with Justin. It's like, it's okay. You guys have known each other for 48 hours, 24 hours. Go date around. I think the problem is just more like he was just being so shady about it, as opposed to Justin was being very, very upfront and like direct and clear with Genevieve about it. To me, it just felt like, Romeo, this is paradise. You're allowed to date people. Why would you do it in secret? Like, you don't need to do it in secret. Like, just tell people that this is what you want to do. When he sat Jill down too, I think like he sits her down and he goes, this is already after you tried to kiss Brittany. Jill is already mad. And so he sits Jill down and he's like, so listen, this is paradise. Paradise is for, exploring. Like, to start the conversation that way, I was like, oh my God, Romeo, you're your own worst enemy. Like, what you want to do is okay, but like, it felt so dismissive of Jill, so dismissive of the fact that she was obviously hurt. I was just like, ugh.
Yeah, it's true. And I think this is a trap that Romeo and Justin are finding themselves in. It's the fact that they're making connections, which is the whole point of the show. But these connections, especially with the particular woman that they had coupled up with, came with like a really high emotional investment on their side, and it's not from shared time together. It's from this like idea of like, I really want to be chosen, and they just happen to get in the crosshairs of that. So like Romeo was totally in his rights to date openly, but he felt like he couldn't just because of like the interactions that he had with Jill, where Jill was just making everything about the situation much more than it was. Like, it wasn't a very simple dynamic of like, I like a person I just met on this dating show where we're supposed to date lots of different people. Jill kind of immediately had very similar fantasies, just like Genevieve did, like, please choose me right away. I'm being a little bit vulnerable and it's making me so uncomfortable that it makes me want to like fight with you. They just both had such explosive conversations.
Right.
And I just remember being like, this is pretty overblown. Like, yeah, Romeo did not do right by the book, but he doesn't deserve all of the vitriol aimed at himself afterwards. I just wish he was a little bit more like communicative and honest about like, look, this is part of the show, and I like you, but I'm still getting to know other people. But people feel like they can't say that. They feel like they need to be in a couple and have it be like solid right away. Yeah. So he was like playing the game, but like also playing around with like his other head, you know?
Yeah, it kind of actually, and we'll get into the Teddi thing too, but it sounds like a lot of people have this issue where they feel both this pressure to like couple up right away, but then also this desire to explore what like to keep things open, and it is confusing. I don't think Romeo deserved to be treated like the pariah he was, but if I was one of the girls on the beach, I would also be like, I don't want to date this guy, or I don't want to, like, I'm not interested in this guy who just, like, clearly is just blabbing words out. Say one thing to one person, but say something else to another person, and, like, putting people in positions to get hurt, and you're lying to some people. That means you're probably going to lie to me eventually. It's just kind of like, you mix all that stuff together, and I'm like, yeah, I would pass also. And then by the time of the rose ceremony, it was so clear that he was just, like, trying to talk to anyone and seeing if anyone was still interested in him. I felt bad for him.
Desperate.
But it felt desperate. But like he was like saying to like Haley, that random girl who went home on night one, he was like, I really feel something here with you. I really see something in you. And she was like, what? Like, it was so random. You could just tell that he's just saying anything to get anyone to talk to him.
That is one mistake that I think was very apparent. I just wish that he was so much more upfront about the entire operation. Exactly. Him being shady and operating in the shadows. It's like the beach is small. People talk. Word travels really, really fast. It's just like the way that he went about it. But I just don't think that he was so in the wrong. He just didn't know how to communicate.
He didn't.
Which I'm like, okay, let's give some grace. And like, he apologized. Totally. You know, I hope
he gave
no one
Jill the
continues to harp
rose.
on him.
Exactly. At least he gave Jill the rose at the end of the night to kind of like indicate that he realized that he kind of had fucked her over. I mean, he cried about it, so clearly he knows that there are consequences to his actions. And you know, that's the thing. It's like, at the end of the day, you can always keep your options open, but that's also a risk, right? Like, if you keep your options open, that means that you're not investing in any one person. And if you're not investing in any one person, then those people aren't really incentivized to invest in you. So, you know, if you end up with no solid connections, you can't be surprised about it. That's your own actions, right? It's like, if I'm not investing in anyone, I shouldn't expect anyone to be like jumping for joy to invest in me.
Oh, he's a cautionary tale on the beach, period. You know, like, everyone sees how Romeo operated, and he's like, they're like, okay, can't do that. Like, that's not the way to move on the beach.
Right. Those are the two major events of night one. The other things that were happening, we did see Sierra and Michael basically start to couple off. They had like a really emotional conversation during night one. It was really sweet. They were talking about his wife who passed away and talking about basically his grieving process of like what it was like for him to start dating after she died. And it was I mean, Sierra started crying, Michael started crying. It was very cute. I actually really was into the two of them. I felt like they had a really sweet connection or like alignment in terms of just emotions, and they both seemed like good conversationalists and very, you know, connected to their emotions. So I actually liked them a lot as a couple. I didn't expect to, but I'm kind of into it.
I think skeptical. I'm a little bit more on the fence about it, just because I just don't think that it just feels like a potentially solid couple. I just don't know if I totally see it. And it's not because they don't have any chemistry. Like, being with him, you are, and I don't like to use the word baggage, but he has like a very like rich story of all of these things that have happened to him in the past. So Sierra, to me, just, I felt like, of course, Michael A would couple up with someone pretty early on. Will that be his like connection to the very end? I don't think so. Like, Sierra seems pretty bought into Michael. I think Michael is still a little bit like reserved, which is not a bad thing. It's just a thing that I'm like, I don't know if they're going to be the couple at the very end. By
the way, if you're enjoying this conversation so far, do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. It really does help support our channel a lot. We're kind of new kids on the block here in the world of Bachelor Nation, so all the support really does help a lot. Like the video and give that subscribe button a quick tap. Also, if you are new here, welcome. We're two dating coaches who analyze the relationship psychology and dating themes in reality TV shows, especially Bachelor shows like Bachelor in Paradise. So if you are into this stuff, you should definitely be subscribed and, follow along, join the conversation. The only other real thing that happened on night one was Logan and Shanae had their one-on-one date. There was, a little bit of stuff with, Haley, pining over Logan, but she ends up going home because he gives her rose to Shanae. So the only thing that I thought was funny about what Haley was saying was, I'm bad at noticing red flags. Sometimes the red flags come with, blue eyes and, a nice smile. And I was like, yep, that's exactly the challenge. I see this time and time again from women. They're like, I don't know, he was just so charming. So I just didn't expect that from him. And I'm like, guys, pretty faces are just pretty faces. Don't assume that a pretty face aligns with good character. I mean, sometimes it does, but just a pretty face says nothing about someone's personality.
I mean, it's called the halo effect when you just kind of believe that a more attractive person has these innately positive qualities. I think there was a research study that babies would kind of gravitate people with more symmetrical faces. It's just something that happens in our society. And she really exemplified that psychological phenomenon last night where she was just really believing that just because Logan is, I don't even think he's that attractive. Is that just me? I thought he was okay on Gabby and Rachel's season, and I just don't understand all of this fanfare towards him.
I think he's just tall and white.
Tall and white, and I guess has blue eyes. I don't know the color of his eyes, but it just felt, I was like, what is happening? You see these beautiful women on the beach chasing these, in my opinion, really mediocre white guys, and they're just getting so caught up and so in their emotions about it. I just didn't think that he deserved it, and now I question his decision making because the way that he was interested in Shanae was he was I like that she's real. I like that she's a person that's not afraid to be herself. I was like, you're kind of highlighting all of the negative qualities that she has and putting this fighter warrior spin on it, and it's she's kind of a bully. I just don't think that she has done really anything for forgiveness outside of saying she's having fun and she's not purposely stirring up drama.
I know.
I'm very surprised about her and Logan pairing off and the fact that she is considered as this hot commodity on the beach.
It makes no sense. I mean, Shanae, not only was she awful to all the girls on her season, she was ableist toward Elizabeth, but even if you're not the kind of person who cares about that kind of stuff, it's as a guy, I literally, if you watched her season, she directly lied to Clayton's face over and over and over. You saw her lie to him about being sorry to other girls. She had that fake apology to those other girls. You saw her lie to him about Genevieve and Genevieve not wanting to date him. She lied so many times to Clayton's face. So it's as a guy, you should you would think you would look at this and be okay, so she is very willing to just completely fabricate the truth to my face. That is direct information that we got from her season. So to see that and still be interested in dating her, to me, what that reads is you are not gathering information from your world and you are not applying information to your choices. Right. There's a lack of application happening in these people's brains. To see that, and she didn't apologize for it at the Women Tell All. So to see all of that and then come to Paradise and be well, she's not doing anything right now. It's oh my gosh. It's yeah, she's not doing anything right now, but you're not going to know when she starts lying to your face because she'll be lying to your face. It's more inconvenient to hold people to their actions. It's harder. It's obviously everyone would rather just have a good time, have fun, and not overthink it. So it's harder to hold people to their actions. But the fact that people would be actively, Logan, actively wanting to date Shanae after he already clearly knew what happened on her season, to me, I was oh my God, Logan, what, you think you're going to be different? Why do you think why do people think they're going to be different? Why do they think that someone who is very toxic to other people will not be toxic to you? Why? Mm-hmm. You're not going to be different? She didn't apologize. Oh, God. Okay.
I agree. She's so herself, and it's not a bad or a negative thing, but there is something to the show of okay, she's not going to be afraid to hurt someone's feelings to advance her storyline on a TV show. She's very aware of the fourth wall that she's actively breaking. That's a red flag in and of itself.
Yeah.
And for her not to, I think her forgiveness was oh, well, she's just being nice on the beach, so this means that She is totally fine. She's not being old shanae. Maybe like it was the old conditions. People are people, and we're the same people in whatever situation we're in. Patterns are patterns for a reason. You don't have to like live and die by them, but you should pay attention to them. Exactly. And Shanae's very clear pattern is that she looks really good to certain people, but she talks about them behind their back. Right. And she uses that to like advance herself. I think that she's going to be a lot of drama in the first few episodes, and then I just kind of see that like dying out. I would be very, very surprised if she ends up with Logan. I just don't see that.
For some reason, I can see her getting engaged to some idiot like Logan, or or Jay. I can see someone proposing to her, but like, I mean, honestly, I hate Logan too. I really didn't like him on his season. He did the same thing. He was just like had such bullshit on his season, didn't apologize for it. So like, I think they deserve each other. Like, let them ride off into the sunset and leave everyone else alone. So.
Yeah, I think that's a very, very good point. It was just like so fascinating for me to see Logan like describe all of her toxic qualities of a positive spin.
It was so weird. He was like,
that was weird.
He was like, she was not afraid to just be herself. First of all, she didn't be herself. She lied to everyone about who she was. She literally said one thing to people in the house and then said something totally different to the camera. She was like, I'm not sorry to those bitches, after she like had a whole tearful apology to them. So she was directly not being herself. So I don't even know why Logan said that, which is just more reason of like, people will use that phrase, just being herself, to like defend any negative quality. It's like, being yourself is not a virtue. It doesn't make you a better person if you're yourself. If yourself is toxic. So I hate it when people say stuff like that. Like, I'm just being real. I'm just being true to myself. I'm like, you being true to yourself doesn't make you a good person. Because if you're a bad person and you're being true to yourself, that means you're being bad and continuing to be bad to people. And that's a good bad. Like, I know it's more nuanced than that, but like, my point is just that is such a, every time I hear anyone say that, I'm like, that's such a load of crap.
Totally is. And because they're banking it on the virtue of authenticity, like, look at me, I'm being honest, I'm being real about my emotions in the present moment, I'm not masquerading it, I'm not hiding it. How can you not like respect that kind of truth telling? They really confuse and conflate like what it means to be an honest person but still be compassionate, which I think is a really great sign of a person that's like mature and can really share space of other people.
It's a good qualifier of like, it's like authenticity is great, but it has to be paired with compassion. Authenticity is not an excuse to be jerks to people.
I just don't understand why so many people are going after her and they're actively being like, I was so curious about Shanae from her season. It really makes me question the men that like align with her, like their taste, their picker, how they view things. Moving
on to night two. Night two was a lot more straightforward. We had our rose ceremony. All the couples that paired off, they all were pretty predictable. Andrew and Teddi, Serena and Brandon, Sierra and Michael. Justin did give his rose to Genevieve instead of Victoria. Oh, Johnny did dump Hunter for Victoria. Victoria randomly went and made out with Johnny. I was here for it.
I mean, she's playing the game.
I was here for it.
I just like that she's so unapologetic about the fact that we are dating on the beach. Like, she's not feeling, because she doesn't feel bad about it, or because she's not like investing her feelings into some people so readily. Like, I don't think Victoria F is doing anything wrong, and it's not because we just have a bias for her, because we just like thirst over this woman. Like, a little bit of that is kind of going into play, but for the most part, I just like see her move, and I'm like, yes, like, you're not committed to anyone. It's fine if you interact like this. It's okay. It's not like you're a bad person. And she didn't make herself out to be one. She just didn't. Like, she just barely got to know the other guy.
Justin,
and it's like, okay.
Yeah. I mean, and Justin at that point, you already saw, she had seen him like back with Genevieve, kind of like doing the romantic thing. So I think it made perfect sense for her to go and explore her other options. I can't really tell. They didn't give us a lot of Johnny and Hunter and like whether there was actually something going on between the two of them. If like, so it's hard to judge whether Johnny was being a jerk, but it did feel like, to me, very appropriate for Johnny and Victoria to hook up. I mean, she like, there was like this one scene before she pulled him. She like walked by him at the bar, and I just saw his body language. He just like was like following her like a satellite. Like his body language was just like, I was like, oh! Like to me, I was like, okay, I'm into it. Like you could just sense that chemistry between the two of them. So to me, I was like, just waiting for it to happen, sitting back with my drink. I'm like, this is the television.
Totally.
This is the television I'm here for. Like,
and they make sense. Johnny
so
just seems to be her type. Like they kind of riff off of each other in a really playful way.
Yeah.
You can tell that they are nervous around each other, and she's an amazing flirt, by the way. Just like seeing her interact with Johnny. Whoa, she's good at flirting. Like the way that she was like just like touching herself and just kind of like touching him very quietly and being like, you make me kind of nervous.
I
know.
Oh, dear Lord. Like
this is the move. This is the playbook. If you really want to like attract someone, I mean, kind of move like Victoria, just like be in your body, be in your physicality, like kind of like advance towards movements, make sure they reciprocate, match it back. She did it beautifully. I was kind of stunned to see that on TV.
Well. I felt the same way. I was like, whoa, this scene is like...
It's hot. This is like flirting 101. Like, listen up, guys. If you really want to like move on a date and get the second date and you're kind of vibing with each other because they were so clearly horny for each other.
Oh, yeah.
This is how you do it.
Okay, so in this episode, so after the rose ceremony happens, we have Kira, Hunter, and Haley are the three who went home. We had a couple new arrivals on the beach. Aaron and James came and they went on a double date with Shanae and Genevieve. It was kind of built up like it was going to be big drama, but it seemed actually pretty chill. And then Rodney shows up, and that's kind of where the drama of last night's episode really came in. Rodney came, pulls Teddi. Teddi has been paired off with Andrew for the last several episodes. They had kind of like an awkward little first date, but they've been paired off since then. But when Rodney shows up, Rodney seemed really interested in Teddi, and Teddi also realized that she was really interested in Rodney, and I think that is what shook her and made her realize that she's not vibing with Andrew as much as maybe she wanted to be or had been trying to be, and she panics, breaks up with him, and then leaves Paradise. I was shocked to see all of this happen.
I was also really shocked to see it happen. I wish that Teddi had stayed on a little bit longer. I don't think that she did anything wrong. It's just the fact that they're just getting so in their head about these early connections and not knowing how to navigate it. Something I did think on this watching that was like, oh my gosh, all of these people are definitely going through the emotional ringer. It is such a pressurized environment. You are kind of desperate to stay on week after week. You're desperate to make a connection with someone. When she saw Rodney, she was like, okay, I'm kind of disregarding things with Michael. And that's a lot for someone to handle and process on camera in front of everybody with people really watching you, and you don't want to hurt someone. So I just think Teddi, in my opinion, like removed herself from the situation because she was like, this is going to be like a lot to handle. This show is really, really intense, and I don't know if I want to keep putting myself out there. I would have probably, if I was on the show, made the same move as her.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I would have. Because I just wouldn't have wanted to like hurt someone. Like I do see myself, if I was on the Bachelor show, like Bachelor in Paradise, I would pair off with someone very fast.
I think you would too. I think someone would scoop you up and you would just be like, all right, I'm
like, done. That's
gonna
it.
Take naps all day long with my guy, and that's about it. Like,
dude, totally. Like a Brandon vibe. I'm like, that's the kind of like energy that I really am personally very attracted to. And I think Teddi kind of operates like that too. So in my opinion, like she just got really overwhelmed by the situation, and she was like, I don't know if I want to keep doing this week after week. I'm just going to take myself out of the equation entirely and just like not continue to hurt anyone. It's like she really got into her head about it and her processes.
Yeah, it does feel like the pressure to pair off really inhibits some of the people on this show. People are pairing off so fast, and even though Teddi and Andrew did like each other, clearly what ended up happening is Teddi didn't actually feel that connection or that spark with him, and it was almost like too late, or she felt like it was like too late for her to back out, such that when she did end up ending things with him, it felt like such a dramatic thing, when in reality she was dating him for like a week, and there was really nothing wrong with her wanting to end things and explore things with other people, but it kind of like the pressure had kind of turned it into this thing that was a big deal, even though it kind of wasn't.
You're right. It totally wasn't. I did not think she was going to walk off of the show. I just thought, like, okay, she's found herself in a pickle. Let's see how she gets out of it. And she just was like, I'm removing myself from the entire sandwich. I am not even going to get into it. And I do relate to that on a personal level. I'd be like, I'm really emotional. I'm going to be messy. I don't want to be messy on TV. I'm done with this stuff.
I think that was probably her take on it. It's sad because I always say this with the show. It's like, it is okay to break up with people. Like, I think that she was like in her head about like, he's such a good guy. How could I hurt him? I don't even have a real reason. I don't even know why it's not working. And it's like,
just wanting to leave is enough.
It's okay. If you want to leave, leave. You don't need a good reason to break up with people. Just break up with them. It's okay. You don't owe people your happiness and staying in a relationship that you're not fully satisfied by. And you don't need a good reason to leave. If it's just not there, it's just not there. And I feel like Teddi, this was like an example of someone falling prey to the idea that somehow she's like a bad person for ending things with Andrew, which she isn't. There's never anything wrong with leaving a relationship. You're not a bad person for ending things ever. I was just kind of sad. It felt like a missed opportunity for her or a wasted opportunity for her. But she like felt so bad about breaking up with him that she thought that, I can't believe I hurt Andrew so much, I should just leave. Like, I was like,
She just totally shot herself in the foot. But okay, I get it. Like, get off the beach, take care of your mental health, take care of yourself. I just don't think that she likes to hurt people. But yeah, I was like, Teddi, you can just like, you have so much more like Bachelor in Paradise life to live, you know? Like, you were such a hot commodity too. Teddi was her own worst. I mean, a lot of people are doing that on the beach, you know? Like this week.
They're their own worst
kind
enemy.
of their own, totally getting in their own way, totally making things bigger, and it's not because of the other person, it's solely because of who they are. They're just
spinning things in their own head into something that it doesn't have to be. She said this, what did she say? She said this weird thing that was like, if it's not Andrew, I don't think it's anyone. And it's like, why would, I hate when people say stuff like this weird siloed idea of like, this guy is so perfect, and if I don't like a perfect guy, I'm broken. If I don't like a perfect guy, like, no one else is out there. If this perfect relationship doesn't work, I'll never meet someone ever again. It's like, people are so dramatic. Nothing is ever so cut and dry. Nothing is ever absolute like that. I think there was like an absolutist like mindset going on, and there's a lot of absolutism happening here on this beach. And it's like, this is paradise. We're here to
have
flow.
Fun, guys. like, let's just like date and have sex and hook up and have fun. Like, that's what I want to see on the beach. And all of their emotional trauma coming to the forefront, I get it. I am really, you know, like, when I see people navigating it and going through like the Romeo stuff, the Justin stuff, the Teddi stuff, my heart really does go out to them. But I'm like, you guys are kind of making it a bigger deal than it has to be.
I agree.
Maybe that's why shanae is being so attractive on the beach, because she is so light. Yeah, like, it's the worst, but she kind of does embody that like really breezy spirit that I think makes her a very attractive person to be around.
Let us know down below, what do you all think about Teddi leaving the beach? I kind of actually hope she might come back maybe next week or something. Like, maybe someone's gonna go run after her. That would be nice. But let us know what you think about both Teddi leaving as well as all the couples that we've talked about. What do you think about the Romeo and Jill situation, the Genevieve and Justin situation, shanae and Logan? Give us your thoughts down below.
Again, if you aren't subscribed to our channel yet, what are you doing? Hit that subscribe button. We do this every single week, and we recap every single episode of The Bachelorette and Bachelor in Paradise and so on. So subscribe and follow along. We'll leave a playlist somewhere around here so you can watch all of our recaps from this season of Bachelor in Paradise. We'll see you next week.
Bye.